Krishna Krishnaya Himate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasasyadi Sutta. What's that? Sorry. Repeat it. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Vande Upadesamrta Raghuyahu Vijiva Gopalago Vande Upadesamrta Raghuyahu Gopalago Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Haribo.
Hare Rama
For some reason I can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hare Hare. This is all being recorded. Welcome, Pradyumna Prabhu. Thank you for coming. What did you say?
No, I can't hear you at all. That's strange.
This is live. Should I?
Maybe it's just me.
This is all being recorded right now.
Nope, it's not just me.
Usually there's 4 or 5 devotees here by this time. I'm wondering.
It doesn't show you as muted. No, I can't hear a word you're saying. I don't know why.
At the bottom, it says new, introducing Zoom apps. Discover and add apps to enhance your Zoom.
Oh, there we go. I have it. Never mind. Got it. That was my bad. It's looking perfect. I just clicked the link and here I am.
Okay, but the question I'm asking is that normally there's 4 or 5 devotees here at this time. I'm wondering if because of anything that we did, if we're cutting everybody out.
No.
Oh,
not at all.
Baba Trini and Hari are here. Okay, that's great. Daneshwar. Okay, very good. I was getting concerned because since we fixed the link, I'm wondering if that cut everybody out. But now that they're here, my obeisances to you, Daneshwar Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Obeisance to you, Baba Trini, and your Hari.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. I was a little concerned because Pradyumna and I worked out any glitches. And because I thought, well, now that we've worked out all the glitches, nobody's coming. I didn't know what was going on.
What?
Excuse me?
Glitches of what? What glitches?
Pradyumna, do you want to explain the glitches to Daneshwar?
Oh, well, it was just the link Gaura was sending was not working. So now the link, you can actually click the link and it will bring you in this meeting.
But it
So
worked
that's
for
the
Daneshwar Prabhu. It worked for Baba Trini in your heart. Is that because they were regulars and they were already connected?
No, I think that just
I don't use
remember.
the link. I don't use a link. I just open up
See?
Zoom and it's already there in my list of places that I go all the time.
Exactly.
Me
You're already-
too.
you're-
Me also, but yesterday we weren't using our laptop, we were using our phones, and it kept saying that the numbers were wrong, even though they were the right numbers. So we kept putting them in.
No,
and
it's just the link. Yeah. The link
They
was wrong.
worked,
Yeah.
but today, no problem.
All right, great. I got everything lined up. We're on, I just finished singing the Six Goswamis mantra. And so we're on text 3 now. Can everyone see the screen okay? Text 3?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So Baba Trini, I have you first in line, then Daneshwar, then Pradyumna, then myself. Did you want to start, Baba Trini, then Daneshwar?
Sure.
after you?
Yeah, Mary Hari will be here in a minute, but he can read
Okay.
the next round. Okay.
Okay.
So you want me to read the text, and the synonyms are just,
The Prabhupada said the synonyms are important also.
okay. Text 3. Utsahan nichaya daryat tat karma pravartanat sangha tyagyat sato vrite sadbir bhakti prasidyati. Utsahat, by enthusiasm. Nischayat, by confidence. Daryat, by patience. Tat karma, various activities favorable for devotional service. Pravartanat, by performing. Sangha tyagat, by giving up the association of non-devotees. Satah, of the great previous acharyas. Vritaha, by following in the footsteps. Sadbihi, by these. 6. Bhakti, devotional service. Prasidayati, advances or becomes successful. Translation. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to the regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Shmaranam, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23. Hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Do you want me to read more, or?
Daneshwar Prabhu, would you like to continue?
Okay. Purport: devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. I like that. That's so nice. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Goswami in his Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu 111 or 1111 has defined devotional service as follows: Anyabilasita shunyam jnanam karmadyanavritam Nukulyena Krishna Nu Shilanam Bhakti Uttama Madhya 19167. Uttama Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of fruitive karma, impersonal gyan, and all other selfish activities or selfish desires. Bhakti is a sort of cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, as some pseudo-yogis teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information of devotional service, and for this reason, it is sometimes recommended as a way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. I'll stop there.
Okay. Sri Prahlad Maharaj, oh no, Pradyumna, would you like to read?
Sri Prahlad Maharaj recommends Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Parasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam. The 9 processes of devotional service are as follows: hearing the name of God and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chanting his glories, remembering the Lord, serving the Lord's feet, worshiping the deity, offering obeisances unto the Lord, acting as the Lord's servant, making friends with the Lord, surrendering oneself fully to the Lord. Shravanam, or hearing, is the first step in acquiring transcendental knowledge. One should not give oral reception to unauthorized persons, but should approach a proper person. As recommended in Bhagavad Gita, tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashena sevaya upadikshyanti jnanam jnaninas tadvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. It is further recommended that in the Mukunda Upanishad, tat vigyanartam sagurum eva vigachet, to understand that transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Thus, this method of submissively receiving transcendental confidential knowledge is not merely based on mental speculation. In this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Rupa Goswami, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. In the course of traversing, go for it.
In the course of traversing the universal creation of Brahma, some fortunate soul may receive the seed of Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotional service. This is all by the grace of Guru and Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19:151. The material world is a place of confinement for the living entities who are by nature anandamaya, pleasure-seeking. They actually want to be free from the confinement of this world of conditional happiness, but not knowing the process of liberation, they are bound to transmigrate from one species of life to another and from one planet to another. In this way, the living entities are wandering throughout the material universe. When by good fortune, by good fortune, one comes in contact with a pure devotee and hears from him patiently, one begins to follow the path of devotional service. Such an opportunity is offered to a person who is sincere. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is giving such a chance to humanity at large. If by fortune one takes advantage of this opportunity to engage in devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens. One should accept this opportunity to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. Even in the material world, one has to be very enthusiastic in his particular field of activity in order to become successful. A student, businessman, artist, or everyone else who wants success in his line must be enthusiastic. Similarly, one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action, but action for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. Krishnar ta kila cheshta. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So I have a question for all of you, and that is, would you like to stop at one round of each of us reading 2 paragraphs and then discuss any points that come to us, or just plow right through? What are your
Nuri's right. Nuri's here. If we want to do that, should he read first? Nuri Hari's just here.
yes, if
Well-
you want to do that, but I just have a but can you answer my, can you give?
I think that's good.
Yeah, 2 paragraphs.
And then everyone reads and then speak.
So that'll be what, is 4 of us or 3 of us?
Okay, so Nrihari then reads and then we'll stop for discussion.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'm taking notes here. I have 4 or 5 points I want to raise. So yes,
Okay.
Hari, please continue.
Where do I begin here? One should accept.
Yeah,
Okay. One should accept this opportunity to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot. Didn't you read this?
Yeah, he just read that.
Yeah.
So it's in all phases.
In all phases of life, one has to perform devotional activities under the direction of the spiritual master in order to attain perfection in bhakti yoga. It is not that one has to confine or narrow one's activities. Krishna is all pervading. Therefore, nothing is independent of Krishna. As Krishna himself states in the Bhagavad Gita, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina mastani sarva bhutani chacha nachaham teshu avastita. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Unquote. Under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master, one has to make everything favorable for Krishna's service. For example, at present we are using a dictaphone. The materialists who invented this machine intended it for businessmen or writers of mundane subject matters. He certainly never thought of using a dictaphone in God's service, but we are using this dictaphone to write Krishna conscious literature. Of course, the manufacture of the dictaphone is wholly within the energy of Krishna. All the parts of the instrument, including the electronic functions, are made from different combinations and actions of the 5 basic types of material energy, namely Bhumi, Jala, Agni, Vayu, and Akash. The inventor used his brain to make this complicated machine, and his brain, as well as the ingredients, were supplied by Krishna. According to the statement of Krishna, Matstani Sarva Bhutani, everything is depending on my energy, unquote. Thus, the devotee can understand that since nothing is independent of Krishna's energy, everything should be dovetailed in his service.
thank you. Okay, so some of the thoughts I have here, Prabhupada referring to Krishna consciousness is not a process of imaginative ecstasy. And I seem to remember about one Mataji, I think her name was Shama Dasi or something. And I think she would like start rolling on the ground during the kirtan. And, you know, I don't want to judge Shama Dasi, but I think Prabhupada did. And he was not so much in favor of making a show of being on some, you know, very elevated platform. As Prabhupada would say, philosophy without Krishna consciousness or spirituality or religion is mental speculation, and religion without philosophy is sentimentality. So that's what I'm getting from that statement. Idle meditation, Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is not a process of idle meditation. So I was telling one godbrother how, you know, I've struggled with a mind that's like a ping, what is it called? Ping pong ball machine. Bing, 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 bing. And he said, got a friend of mine from the UK. He said, Gaura, you should consider staring at a candle. Just stare at a candle for a few minutes every day, or just do pranayama, and this will help you a lot. So, you know, I have not been obedient to fully take his instruction, not because I'm against it, but I just sort of questioned it. I suppose this could be seen as favorable to the execution of Krishna consciousness if it helps to calm the mind to chant better japa.
Yeah.
But yet, from
Could I-
another
could
point
I
of view, someone else would
reply
say,
to that?
sorry, excuse me?
He's got his hand up.
I'd like to reply to that.
Yes, please.
Japa is the process of meditation, and the process of meditation is to control the mind. This is very plainly explained in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that, you know, this is what japa is for. From wherever the mind wanders to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self.
Right.
During japa, we are meant to focus our mind on the sound of Krishna's name and not let it be wandering all over. It's a meditation on that sound. And by this practice, one brings the mind under control, and that is the immediate goal for all sadhakas. Why? Because when one brings the mind under control, one then becomes free from duality, right? One then can discern the voice of the supersoul in the heart. This is 6.4 or 6.6, I think. One can discern the voice of the supersoul, right? So for one who's conquered her mind, the supersoul is already reached. For him, happiness, distress, hot, cold, etc. are the same. So he's free from duality. Because why? Because duality is created by the mind trying to figure out what to accept or reject. Right. So when one brings the mind under control, the mind then stops all that stuff. He doesn't see, well, which one do I want to enjoy? The purified mind sees everything in relationship to Krishna and says, oh, that's for Krishna to enjoy, and that's for Krishna to enjoy. Not for me to enjoy, you know, do I want chocolate or strawberry? No, you know, right? It's all for Krishna. So that's your answer. And I suggest that you practice your japa. Practice is the intentional word there. Practice meaning to focus the mind on the sound of Krishna's name.
Yeah, what I'm understanding from you is you're saying we don't need to make an extraneous endeavor to utilize some other methods. The process of focusing on the holy name in of itself is complete. Purna Shuddho. Yeah. Yeah.
One other point though, that I have found in my practice of japa, to fix my eyes. If I was in front of the deities, I would fix my eyes on the deities or on one spot or on a candle, anything like that, because wherever the eyes go, the mind follows. So, you know, if you can close your eyes, that's even better, but sometimes people fall asleep. So using a focal point is also helpful for that.
And you're saying that it should not be a candle or the breath, but it should actually be the deity. Is that what you're saying?
Whatever. You know, sometimes I look at a spot on the wall.
Right. Yeah. I've also looked at the Maha Mantra. I've had a sign of that, and just look at the mantra itself as one is chanting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dineshwar Prabhu.
Okay.
I have other points to bring, unless someone else wants to respond to that. You're muted, Hari Prabhu.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It just reminded me when I first joined the movement, and we had the first section of Hanuman was explained to me. Actually, we were like myself, my sister, anyhow. how wonderful this method is, because it was explained what Prabhupada actually said.
Using all the senses.
We're using all our senses. Sense of touch, we touch in our beads. We hear in the mantra, and we usually were at the temple, because if you remember, we had japa time, and so the incense, the smell of flowers, that's the nose is used, and then we had Hanuman brought the first posters that we had in ISKCON, and all the paintings. My sister would frame them, and so we used to do that. Just go walk, maybe if you want to walk, or find one of the paintings that we like and just look at them, chant, and all our senses will be engaged.
How do you use the sense of taste in chanting and japa?
Well, they said there's some taste in the chant.
Tasting the holy name.
Prasadam.
While you're chanting
So you can
japa.
meditate on, wow, my God, I'm gonna have breakfast prasadam. But yeah, and then the other question will be raised, you're gonna practice some other type of yoga, and the person was all that. But when Prabhupada came to Vrindavan, there was in Mayapur, a lot of devotees were getting sick, they were eating too many sweets or something like that. And then Prabhupada said, okay, if they
Drinking the water.
And even just drinking the water, yeah. But in this case, there was a little overeating of sweets or something. And so people are sleeping, and when you sleep, amoebas and all that. And so Prabhupada said, okay, so then practice some hatha yoga. And
Prabhupada said that.
Yes, yeah. And there were some problems, people being agitated, what we used to call, and then having, problems with, we saw the big scandals in Vrindavan like that. So I would say, okay, you need some hatha yoga. And so when we were there with Naratamananda, invited us, and we were in
Hold on, before you go further, I'm trying to get clarification. Prabhupada was saying, as an antidote to eating too many sweets, you should do some hatha yoga.
Not just eating too many sweets, sleeping too much, overeating.
Okay.
controlling the senses.
And your health, it's good for the health. But if you remember in what we just read, he said that meditation is useful if someone, to get them away from material activities. And in another spot in what we read, he said that you have to accept and reject, accept what's favorable and reject what's favorable. So sometimes pranayam, hatha yoga, different staring at a candle, those can be favorable for your chanting japa. But also in some devotees,
useful tool.
Yeah, some devotees have done whole books on japa meditation and backing it up with scripture. Actually, Danodara, he did a book. Danodar, and Dineshwar is describing is a type of meditation that's almost impersonal,
staring at the wall.
Staring at the wall. No, Krishna's name. It's almost like because there are other, but it's one of the methods. That's what I was taught in the beginning, to chant and not look at anything except maybe the name or the deities, and don't think of anything, just listen to the sound. But actually some of the recommended,
that's what I said, right?
No, it's recommended, it's fine. But but also it's recommended to meditate on serving Krishna or the pastimes, different things like that. And it's remembering what Krishna's doing, remembering what you read, remembering your service. Those are also ways to engage the mind while you're chanting, and they're not considered deviating from the chant.
That's what I recommend for advanced students in japa yoga.
Okay.
Specifically for those who are engaged in Raganuga sadhana, when at that time they are already engaged in thinking about Krishna's pastimes, and that's their meditation or their sadhana, their Raganuga sadhana, then at that time during japa. Anyway.
Well, that's meditating on the 8 times, pastimes, but also when practicing sadhana, you can what seems like imagine. You can imagine what you read, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. You can remember them. In our case, we're not Raganuga, so it's more like imagining, but we're remembering.
If you remember what you read.
We remember
That's
what we
also
read. Well, one
scripture.
devotee was saying it's not really smaranam because we're not really there.
Or it's kind of a practice also.
It's a practice. So even if you're not a Raganuga Bhakti, different books and advice from devotees and, in our God brothers and in our line, they are recommending that you can remember what you've read and heard. You can also remember your service, like maybe you've done artik, you can remember offering the incense and looking at the deity, even though you're not doing it right now. So but anyway, I didn't mean to say it was impersonalism the other way. I'm just saying that you don't have to be at the platform of Raganuga to remember service or pastimes or scripture while you're chanting.
May I argue with that or bring a challenge to that?
Yes, you may, but can I say something I meant to say at the very beginning that has nothing to do with
sure.
Shuddha Sindhu? It's her birthday today, and I sent her a message, and she messaged me back that she'll be unable to come to the classes until next week because it's the Chinese New Year. So I just wanted to tell you that. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So you're saying we can think about these different things while we're chanting japa. I say for the neophyte, for the new devotee, what we want to do is practice to bring the mind under control. And if we give ourselves license to allow the mind to wander to our service, to this or to that, then where's the control of the mind? I think it's, let's say, what I teach. I teach to the students that, the initial,
never mind. Oh, I see.
that initially you must, bring your mind under control. This is the first, let's say, the goal. Otherwise, if one doesn't practice that, when is that going to happen? And then one may wind up just all the time, their mind wandering all over without them even hearing their japa. Now, I've gone around and surreptitiously recorded devotees in their method of chanting. And for many of them, you'll be hard pressed to find the 16 words of the Maha Mantra in what they're saying. It would appear from that they're not hearing their japa. Their mind may be wherever, but how are they associating with Krishna if their mind is wandering here and there due to its flickering and unsteady nature? Anyway, that's my comment.
That's not what I was saying. I didn't say let your mind wander. Actually, Aniruddha Prabhu has a book, How to Attain God in This Very Life, and he gives wonderful suggestions and directions on how to do your japa. And he has it set up for 80 rounds, which I usually don't do. But anyway, I'm not talking about whimsical. He suggests that you pick a personality like your spiritual master and you chant one round to him, thinking that he's listening to you. And then he suggests you chant one round. Yeah, I don't remember.
From the spiritual master to Chaitanya.
To Chaitanya,
Okay.
like that. And then so there are other descriptions too, but I'm definitely not talking about whimsically letting your mind pull you around. So.
Okay.
But ultimately, I mean,
yeah.
we have yogis that control their minds, and
They're
after
not
60,000
Krishna
years, and they're not Krishna conscious after 60,000 years.
Well, of
They
course.
fell
but-
down. So I think it goes both at the same time. By artha pavriti. Artha pavriti means acquiring those transcendental things that will empty our hearts of the anarthas. And the other way is just like doing the manual work. It's fine. I mean, it's good if you can do something, but we've seen people who restrain. What was it? The Krishna says not. It's not always successful. I mean, restriction. Meaning like restrain the mind, restrain the senses.
One is just a pretender.
While inside it just
Nitya chara uchate. Yeah.
right. So we're doing both things. The intention is actually to develop love of Godhead, not to become a mind controller. But it does happen that we do both things at the same time. But the ultimate success is when we are really Krishna conscious, then automatically all those things, the anarthas and mind wandering, the mind will be changed. It'll become our friend. And
I have a question for Baba
For
Tarini.
one who has brought the mind under control, it's his friend.
right.
And so that's got to be the object, to bring the mind under control. And what I'm saying is japa is our method for doing that. There are other methods you could use, but why not use japa? And at the same time, one is hearing, and Prabhupada gives this instruction also, to meditate on the sound, to hear the sound of Krishna's name while we chant.
Yeah, and also we say, we have the tactile, senses like engaged by touching the beads, and we smell in the incense of the temple. We see in the deities or the paintings of the deities, the painting of our spiritual master, the pure devotees. So our eyesight, our hearing, our tongue, as she said, might not be. How is it engaged? Well,
We're tasting the holy name.
tasting, but we can't, right at this particular moment. Some might, but
I have a question to ask Baba Tarini, but Pradyumna Prabhu has had his
Pradyumna.
hand up for a long time.
Yes,
Oh,
we want to
I
hear
see.
Pradyumna.
Rasangi said.
Hi, Rasangi.
Hare Krishna, son. She must be on her walk. That's why we don't see her.
I remember this anecdote by Prabhupada where somebody approached him and said, when I chant my japa, I see this bright light, it's just amazing. And Prabhupada just told him, well, keep chanting, it'll go away.
That was over the prasadam. The devotee was saying, I see a green light over the
The
prasadam.
green light, okay.
And Prabhupada said, if you keep chanting, it'll go away.
And it's so nice hearing all your realizations and practices. For me, like what disturbs me, like what you guys are saying is so subtle and so personal, but if you look at many ISKCON sanghas and temples, temple rooms, even video conferences, book readings, you see devotees participating in class and chanting their japa, so-called chanting their japa. This, I don't know, like to me, that's so disturbing. It's just a proof that people are not attentive and don't take it very seriously. Are you listening to the kata? Are you listening to the japa? Are you listening to neither of them? What's going on there? And how can we avoid this, And how can we also help others to avoid that without offending them? I found that if you mention these things and people are not your friend or something, they may take it the wrong way. But it's so deeply disturbing to see that devotees attending a class and chanting japa, hand in the beads. To me, that's total nonsense. And hearing you guys talk about it proves that, so serious about the japa practice. So why have divided attention? You're making an offense to the speaker, you're making an offense to the Shastra and to the Mahamantra. Am I right or am I wrong?
I personally,
Well, I asked
personally
correct.
think, if I may say something, please, for a second. I
Okay.
personally think it's rude. If I'm chanting, if I'm trying to actually, I become distracted. If it's been a long time since I've given a class in a temple, but if I'm giving a class and I'm watching someone going, then I feel like saying to them, Prabhu, if you want to chant japa, could you please leave?
Yeah,
I
it's
do say
complete
that to them.
nonsense. Yeah.
Like, don't
I
go.
always say that. Pick one, you do japa and meditate on it, or else stay in class. You can't do both.
Thank you.
What were
Yes.
you going to say?
No, that was my question for many years, and I witnessed actually devotees, from it was the Gaudiya, and I witnessed the other. I understand, like in ISKCON when we went to a temple in South India, and it was japa time, and the devotees, there were a group, I guess it was, the temple president, like that, walking back and forth, talking, to somebody else. I don't know, maybe it was some important thing that needed to do later on, but it was pretty disruptive to me to see that. It was a very, and so years went by, excuse me, and I was we were in pilgrimage, and also attending some of the classes that Sri Narayan was giving, and thank you. And I noticed that some of the sannyasis had their hands on their beads. They weren't gesticulating. They were actually, because there are forms of, like, it says that Namacharya Sira Haridas Thakur, he chanted 64 rounds, one lakh of loud, and one of the lakh of rounds was silent in the mind. So I see the sannyasis quietly, their mouths shut, but they had their hands on their beads, and I was wondering, and I say that was allowed, but they got really heavy when they saw somebody asked me a question, and I was like, no, I turn around to say something, and the sannyas really got heavy on me. It was a sannyas from a senior sannyas, from Gaudiya. There was a group of everybody, Prabhupada's disciples, or we all listening to the lecture of what was said there. So I was like, I thought this, talking while japa and walking around and talking about something else, very distracting. I don't think you can concentrate in chanting. What benefit you get? Maybe it's some minimal.
Dinesh Prabhu had it set up for a while.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that was just a minor point. Last time I was with you on Friday, we were reading from Narayan Maharaj's Upadesamrta, and now you're reading from Prabhupada's. So I was just wondering why.
Oh, because the system that I set up, if it's still agreeable to everyone, is that I start with Prabhupada on the verse. I've got Srila Sridhar Maharaj's ready right now, just in case we finish this evening, which it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But if it does happen, I'm ready for Srila Sridhar Maharaj's illuminations on this verse.
Wow.
And then in Srila Narayan Maharaj's edition, we have Radha Raman Goswami Bhakti Vinod.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Very thorough. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Baba Trini, you had a point?
Oh, just one time at Harinam on Parikram, he chastised people that were chanting japa.
He said it was not also Harinam also, and it's there recorded in the.
Who's chastising? I don't
Srila
understand.
Narayan Maharaj chanting japa at Harinam.
Okay.
He said you get no benefit from the japa and you get no benefit from the Harinam. Sankirtan.
Then another time.
So the devotees in the procession are Hare Krishna, and
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What is that's he next that one.
He said, put your bead bag away.
And then the other thing, he said, don't let me catch you, while he was doing an explanation of this particular, we were in a very, very holy place in Vrindavan, a Rasistali, and place residence. He was explaining some points. It's just, don't let me see you with your hand in your bead bag.
yeah, that's very common all over.
Yeah, yes. So that was my thing, so wow, and so somebody, this other sannyas explained to me, the disciple of Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj, he said, you have to realize that if there is a pure devotee, you shouldn't do anything else. It's depend on the gradation of
Thank you.
like
Thank you.
that.
Speaking of disciple of Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj, we have not seen Krishna Chandra in
I
weeks,
know.
caring for his
I
mother.
know.
So I cannot reach him because he's on Facebook, and I'm not on Facebook anymore. So please, someone reach out to him. His name is Sai, C-I-E, and I forget the rest of it. But someone please reach out and tell him that on my behalf that I'm asking.
C-I-E, C like Charlie.
Yeah. I don't think there's many people with that name.
I've
No.
never heard of it.
So another point that you Prabhu's brought up is this chanting in the mind, which, we can do Akanda Kirtan, we can chant 24/7, right? But I've met a few devotees who have this
Been able to do.
kind of, in my opinion, nonsense idea that they can chant their rounds in their mind. And I mean, what's the consensus on that? Because I mean, we're not Haridas Thakur, right? So to me, that's just totally bogus, but maybe I'm wrong. So maybe
Srila
Maybe
you can say
they were
something
trained
about that.
up in, they were
Go
trained
ahead.
up in New Vrindavan.
New Vrindavan?
Yeah, New
Well-
Vrindavan, back in the 90s, everybody would chant japa silently. You'd go in the temple room during japa time, and it was absolute silence.
Yeah.
But that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Is that we're actually worshiping a sound vibration. So you should hear the sound vibration. You should vibrate the sound. Where does this nonsense come from that I can
Well,
chant
that
my
came from-
rounds in my mind with no
I think
sound?
that came from,
Haridas
from-
Thakur.
well, in that case, Swami also, Kirtanananda.
No.
Oh,
Well, in that case, yeah, and it all depends,
But
on
I-
the
okay.
advancement of the devotee. And also, they was explained to me by senior sannyasis that are quite experienced. I don't think they're bogus. That if the speaker is a great elevated soul, then you just usually you shouldn't be chanting. And then also according to he's raising his
okay, talk.
Thank you. What I wanted to say is that I've read the Harinan Chintamani a couple of times by, who wrote that? Haridas Thakur? No, he didn't.
Yes, Bhaktivinoda
It's like
Bhaktivinoda
Thakur,
Thakur.
but it's Haridas Thakur speaking.
Correct.
Lord Chaitanya is making him speak. It's
Thank
like
you.
Ramananda
Thank
Samvat.
Thank you. So there, it's recommended. Although I never heard this from Srila Prabhupada in any of his books, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book, it says that that's one way of doing japa, chanting silently. So that's my understanding. I mean, we have to be careful. I know what you mean, Pradyumna. It's not nonsense. One of our acharyas said it, but Prabhupada never actually taught us to chant japa silent, to the best of my knowledge.
It's and I remember.
I'm gonna say.
So remember those an anecdote? Some woman, the lady said, I offer, what was it?
Oh, she said, I chant in my mind. This is Srila Prabhupada, I think.
Who
told-
says they
A
chant in
lady,
the
a
mind?
lady told Srila
Darshan
Prabhupada,
with
she
Prabhupada.
said she chanted in her mind. He said, okay, would you like to eat with your
Can
mind?
you-
Exactly the point I was going to make. I could say, hey, I did yoga in my mind today. Hey, I took a 5-kilometer walk in my mind today. This is a very proud and very get out of jail free card for neophyte devotees to go.
So
Well,
So
they-
in the nature
Like,
of
how
devotion
can you
was-
tell? How can you gauge? And how can you say you're worshiping sound vibration if there's no sound vibration?
One thing
Well-
though is there's no rules for chanting the holy name, and we're supposed to chant 24/7. So obviously, sometimes the
So even in your
chanting has
dreams.
to be in our mind, but there are rules for japa. There are lots of rules for chanting on your beads,
Yeah, Haribhakti
japa
Vilas.
japa meditation. So yes, it's okay if some people are chanting in their minds, but that's not japa, as my understanding.
Exactly. So
It
that's
depends
what I
on-
was asking.
Yeah. And it depends again on the devotee's advancement. We see that in the Nectar of Devotion, that devotee that cooks rice and he burns his hand touching it, see,
In his mind.
in his mind. It's all done in his mind. But Prabhupada said, you're not at that level. We can't do this.
So Sikarani has not read. Piper is here with us. Thank you for
Oh,
joining, Piper.
hi,
However, I just like to
Hello,
address my
Sikarani,
last couple of
Piper,
points, if you don't mind. When we were going through the 9 processes of devotional service, I was remembering the first time I read Easy Journey to Other Planets. And I believe it's in the Easy Journey to Other Planets, it was making reference to a quote from the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, where it describes Shravanam, that Parikshit Maharaj is a Bhagavatam verse. Parikshit Maharaj achieved perfection by hearing. Kirtanam, Parikshit Maharaj achieved, no, the other way around, excuse me. Shravanam was perfection for Parikshit Maharaj because he heard. Shukadev Goswami achieved perfection by the process of chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam. Vishnu Smaranam, I believe that's Prahlad Maharaj, because he remained in prayer to Lord Nrsingadev while Hiranyakashipu was trying to bump him off and all of the poisoning him, throwing him off cliffs and getting stabbed, etc. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Vandanam, I believe is Akrura's prayers. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Vandanam, Archana, I think it was Prithu Maharaj achieved perfection by worshiping the deity in the temple, or maybe it was Ambarish. No, not Ambarish. It was Prithu Maharaj. And then Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Vandanam, Archanam, Dasyam. That would have been Arjuna. Dasyam. No, not Arjuna. Excuse me, Hanuman. And then Sakyam, Arjuna achieved perfection by his friendship with Krishna. Padasevanam, we're worshiping the lotus feet of the Lord. Who was that? Lakshmi.
Lakshmi, that's right. Lakshmi.
Yeah. And then Atmanivedanam was Bali Maharaj because he offered his whole being.
Entire.
Ambarish.
No.
Wasn't it?
Bali is the one
Wasn't
that
it Ambarish and the?
I thought it was Bali Maharaj. But also Ambarish is known for that. But in the actual 12th canto,
In the 12th
Shastra,
canto,
yeah, reference.
yeah.
So and Prabhupada said one can achieve perfection through any one of these. And that it begins with Shravanam Kirtanam. Bavatrini.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
One of the things I do when I'm chanting japa, like I will, one round, I'll try to remember the whole disciplic succession. So one round I'll think of Krishna, the original guru, then Brahma, Narada, and meditate on that. And sometimes a few years ago, but I forgot now, I used to meditate on the 9 processes and pick one per round.
Something similar to that I used to do. I have a photo here. It's pretty. I got it at the Prabhupada's house at the Krishna Balaram Mandir. But
Yes.
I would stare at each of the acharyas for one round.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very nice offering.
That's a little, that's a little similar to what Aniruddha is suggesting.
But I wanted to know about this book by Aniruddha. Can you send me a file of that, or it's only in a hardbound version?
Oh, no,
I
you
think
can,
get it
I
online.
have it on my phone. I have the book
Can
on
you
my
send that to me through their hard?
Yeah.
And that's our godbrother, Aniruddha Prabhu?
Oh, no,
He's
no.
disciple of Daita Madhava Maharaj.
Oh, okay.
He's a disciple of Prabhupada's godbrother.
Oh, nice.
He's in his 90s.
Wow.
And he does 3 lakhs. And
Yeah.
Wow.
he has a whole town. His whole town is in Rajasthan. And you have to go through a tiger's, what do you call it, reserve. And when you get there, you start looking at the kids, 4 years old. They're
3 years old.
3 years old with bead bags. With
Everyone
chanting.
there chants 64 rounds a
Because
day.
then,
No.
yeah, The
Yeah.
time he
Three and
has everybody.
4-year-old standing 64 rounds a day? No.
Yeah, he's very powerful, and if you pray to him, he
Why?
does help. But he gives you guidelines, like that. Prabhu was saying, you have to have certain guidelines to how to do it. And he was saying it's easy. So he said, if you get up at 2:30 a.m., change your clock around a little bit, at no later than 3. Then you can chant before
Mangalarti.
Mangal Arti, a bunch of rounds. So you can finish later on another 2 hours evening time. And then he recommended before, just as you lying down before chant
you go
aloud,
to sleep.
a loud round of
2 rounds.
or 2 rounds of japa.
And then your
loudly.
dreams will be very nice.
That's what he said.
And then go back to the 1974 instruction that devotees like to make to eliminate all of Prabhupada's godbrothers. Don't go to my godbrothers. Da 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 da. And I mean, if I translate that, it's like saying, what? He chants 64 rounds a day? Definitely avoid him. Like, duh. Like, that doesn't make any Sorry, my sarcastic humor there.
But another thing also is within the instructions is not to ask devotees or inquire, are you chanting 64 or 16? Or that's something very, very personal.
Yeah, I wrote to a godbrother a few months back. We just reestablishing relationship. Hare Krishna, Gaura Das Prabhu. Are you chanting 16 rounds a day? Are you following the 4 regulated principles a day? I'm doing that. I'm actually, and I'm like, what? Like, okay. On the point of enthusiasm, Prabhupada was saying, even a materialist, realizes that they have to be very enthusiastic. And I was thinking, that's the personal growth field. That's Tony Robbins. That's Zig Ziglar, that's Earl Nightingale, that's Jim Rohn, that's Robin Sharma, that's and on. And I know several godbrothers, that take inspiration from these people, and they Krishnaize what they have to say. And that seems to be kind of a cool thing to do, as long as one doesn't use all that enthusiasm for becoming a better materialist. And one example that came to me is this story of Prabhupada told of Charlie Chaplin. I think Prabhupada was on the plane. Maybe it was Shruti Kirti, I'm not sure. And the movie, most of you will know me. I don't know if Piper will know, or Pradyumna or Shikarani will know. Maybe you've heard this before. And correct me if I have any details wrong. Someone wants to play a joke on someone, and they put some glue on a seat. And they were at a fancy ball where men were wearing their tuxedo with tails on them, and the ladies were all decked out in beautiful gowns. And someone put some glue on Charlie Chaplin's chair. And when he tried to get up, he couldn't get up, and he ripped part of the tails of the tuxedo, and he went to the bathroom and he looked, and then he decided, well, I'll just rip it all the way up the back. And then he went out on the dance floor, and he started doing like a foxtrot on steroids kind of dance, and everyone saw the Charlie Chaplin with this bizarre ripped up tuxedo doing this new dance. And so they all started ripping up their tails on their tuxedos and taking their partners and dancing. And it was, as we say, enthusiasm is contagious. So Prabhupada used that story to make
or
that.
If you do, doing something, like very,
Utsahan.
not just enthusiasm, also, I mean, like with like
Confidence. That was
confidence.
another one of the points.
I think Piper will like this story because she's been a professional dancer with Sergio Mendes. Did you hear the dancing story, Piper? Were you able to hear it? You're on mute. Sorry, cannot hear you.
With Charlie Chaplin?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I haven't heard that one.
You just heard it just now, though.
Yeah, I haven't
Okay.
seen it, but yeah, I heard what you're saying.
Okay.
It's really funny.
Yeah. So everything favorable should be accepted in Krishna's service. And I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole right now, but I'd just like to take a second to say that because I've worked in the superfoods field, the nutraceutical field, I have 100 books just in my bedroom on the benefits of vitamins and minerals and herbology and Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, et cetera, et cetera. So therefore, when I saw this whole pipeline coming down, yes, everyone should go and get double jabs of mRNA, spike protein, bioweapon. I'm like, that is definitely not favorable for Krishna service. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. And
Yeah, but I'd like to
I
say
did-
one thing,
yeah,
is you may be talking about all those other things, but you have the holy name behind your head. So
Thank
you're
you for
perfectly
reminding me.
situated.
that's the best medicine, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur said.
Right there.
Oshodi Maya Nashi Baro Lahagi Harinama Mahamandra Noilo Majiya. I have Bhaktivinoda as Lord Chaitanya has come. I have brought the medicine by which to purify you of all your illness, all your disease. Take this Harinam Mahamantra, and there's nothing more than the holy name in all the three worlds.
That's
Yeah.
how,
More or less.
no pro- yeah,
Let's
and
go back to
favorite-
reading.
Yeah,
Sorry, Danishwar, did you guys say something?
Yeah, let's go back to reading.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, I think I covered all my points. So thank you. All right, we'll come back to reading. We've
I
not-
was a favorite of Lord Chaitanya was Harinam Sankirtan. If you remember when we got there in the temple, there was no longer you start thinking, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, or I'm so and so. All those distinctions are pretty much gone out when we're in a group chanting so enthusiastically.
Right. Yeah, so Piper, you're next, and then Sikarani will be after you, please. A couple of paragraphs. Where did we leave off? Endeavor executed with intelligence. I don't think we read that part, did we? Did we? I don't think so. Endeavor executed with intelligence.
Marie says that it begins
I-
that endeavor executed. with
Yeah, I
Okay.
ended in the paragraph.
Please
before.
continue, Piper.
Endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha or enthusiasm. The devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. These activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly. In the beginning, there was no response, but because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instruction from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence. A newly married girl naturally expects offspring from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. Similarly, in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. The devotee thinks, Avasya Rakshibi Krishna. Rakshibi Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence.
Thank you. Shikarani, are you ready to read? Or Rasangi? Who's available? Either of you? Shikarani, Rasangi?
As already explained, one should not be idle, but should be very enthusiastic about executing the regulative principles. Tat tat karma pravartana. Neglect of the regulative principle will destroy devotional service. In this Krishna consciousness movement, there are 4 basic regulative principles: forbidding illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. A devotee must be very enthusiastic about following these principles. If he becomes sick in following any of them, his progress will certainly be checked. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommends tat tat karma pravartanat. One must strictly follow the regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. In addition to these four prohibitions, yama, there are positive regulative principles, niyama, such as the daily chanting of 16 rounds on japa mala beads. These regulative principles must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. This is called tat tat karma pravartana, or varied engagement in devotional service.
One more paragraph.
Furthermore, in order to be successful in devotional service, one must give up the association of undesirable people. This includes karmis, jnanis, yogis, and other non devotees. Once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by one of his householder devotees about the general principles of Vaishnavism, as well as the general routine activities of the Vaishnava. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately replied, Asat Sangha Tyaga, Ei Vaishnava Achara. Characteristically, a Vaishnava is one who gives up the association of worldly people or non-devotees. Srila Narottama Dasa Thakur has therefore recommended Tandera Charana Shevi Bhakta Sanavasa. One has to live in the company of pure devotees and execute the regulative principles laid down by the previous acharyas. The six Goswamis, namely Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, and Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami. If one lives in the association of devotees, there is little chance of associating with non-devotees. The International Society of Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulative principles of spiritual life.
Devotional service means transcendental activities. On the transcendental platform, there is no contamination by the three modes of material nature. This is called Vishuddha Sattva, the platform of pure goodness, or goodness free from contamination by the qualities of passion and ignorance. In this Krishna consciousness movement, we require everyone to rise early in the morning by 4 a.m. and attend Mangalarti or morning worship, then read Srimad Bhagavatam, perform kirtan, and so forth. Thus, we hold continuous activities in devotional service 24 hours daily. This is called Tato Vritti, or following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas who expertly filled every moment of time with Krishna conscious activities. If one strictly follows the advice given in this verse by Srila Rupa Goswami, namely being enthusiastic, being confident, being patient, giving up the association of unwanted persons, following the regulative principles, and remaining in the association of devotees, one is sure to advance in devotional service. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that the cultivation of knowledge by philosophical speculation, the collection of mundane opulence by the advancement of fruitive activities, and the desire for yoga siddhis, material perfections, are all contrary to the principles of devotional service. One has to become thoroughly callous to such non-permanent activities and turn his intention instead to the regulative principles of devotional service. According to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 69, Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti samyame yasyam jagrati bhutani sanisha pashyato munehe. What is night for all beings is a time of awakening for the self-controlled, and a time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So the only one that hasn't read is Rasangi, and I'm just wondering if she's finished her walk. I don't even see Rasangi here anymore. Okay, we also have Anne here. Anne, would you like to unmute yourself and read 2 paragraphs? I'm not even sure who Anne is. I'm grateful that you're listening in. But would you like to read, Anne? Any response from Anne? Okay, no response from Anne. So back to you, Bhavatrini and Rihari, please.
Engagement in the devotional service of the Lord is the life and soul of the living entity. It is the desired goal and supreme perfection of life. One has to become confident about this, and one also has to be confident that all activities other than devotional service, such as mental speculation, fruitive work, or mystic endeavor, will never yield any enduring benefit. Complete confidence in the path of devotional service will enable one to attain his desired goal, but attempting to follow other paths will only succeed in making one restless. In the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, one must be calmly convinced that those who have given up devotional service to engage in severe austerities for other purposes are not purified in their minds, despite their advanced austerities, because they have no information of the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is further stated in the 7th canto, although mental speculators and fruitive actors may perform great austerities and penances, they still fall down because they do not have information about the lotus feet of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord, however, never fall down. In Bhagavad Gita 9:31, the Supreme Personality of Godhead assures Arjuna, Kontaya pratijani name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes.
Hari?
Okay, again in Bhagavad Gita 2:40, Krishna says, Neha bi krama na shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancing on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Devotional service is so pure and perfect that once having begun, one is forcibly dragged to ultimate success. Sometimes a person will give up his ordinary material engagement and out of sentiment take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and thus begin the preliminary execution of devotional service. Even if such an immature devotee falls down, there is no loss on his part. On the other hand, what is the gain of one who executes the prescribed duties according to his varna and ashram, but does not take to devotional service? Although a fallen devotee may take his next birth in a low family, his devotional service will nonetheless resume from where it left off. Devotional service is ahaituki apratihata. It is not the effect of any mundane cause, nor can it be terminated by any mundane cause, the jobs, or permanently curtailed by any material interruption. Therefore, devotees should be confident about his engagement and should not be very interested in the activities of the karmis, jnanis, and yogis.
Dineshwar Prabhu, would you like to finish the chapter, please?
There are certainly many good qualities among fruitive actors, philosophical speculators, and mystic yogis, but all good qualities automatically develop in the character of a devotee. No extraneous endeavor is needed. As confirmed by Srimad Bhagavatam 5:18-12, all good qualities of the demigods manifest progressively in one who has developed pure devotional service. Because a devotee is not interested in any material activity, he does not become materially contaminated. He is immediately situated on the platform of transcendental life. However, one who engages in mundane activity, be he a so-called jnani, yogi, karmi, philanthropist, nationalist, or whatever, cannot attain the higher stage of Mahatma. He remains a duratma, or cripple-minded person. According to Bhagavad Gita 9:13, Mahatmanas tumam parta daivim prakritim ashrita vajananyanya manaso gyatam bhutatim avyayam. O son of Pita, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Since all the devotees of the Lord are under the protection of his supreme potency, They should not deviate from the path of devotional service and take to the path of karmic jnani or yogi. This is called utsahan nischayadaryat tat tat karma pravartana, enthusiastically executing the regulative activities of devotional service with patience and confidence. In this way, one can advance in devotional service without hindrance.
Guys, thank you very much. I'd just like to make reference because Srila Prabhupada was ending and earlier stating that unless we follow these four regulative principles, we cannot advance in devotional service. And Sunanda Prabhu yesterday evening made the point, he was the first speaker, I think, that these injections that have been promoted in society being made of, that devotees are first of all careful not to eat meat, fish, eggs, or chicken. I was thinking even onion and garlic. What to speak of injecting aborted fetal cells from pigs, from humans, from cows. So I know it sounds, it's quite a controversial topic, but are those who are taking these injections breaking one of the regulative principles? I'm just throwing that out there.
I would say so.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Anyone else want to comment on that?
I would like to say on what you just said.
Yeah.
My instructions to Srila Prabhupada is if the leaders are trying to instruct you to not follow the principles, he didn't say these words, but not follow the principles and not chant, and not associate with devotees. Those are the instructions he gave me. So if they're blocking me from doing that, then I should not follow them.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean,
And
do you
that's
think that is
definitely
breaking
that's definitely
Those instructions should be rejected, or that association. But it's difficult because someone may be promoting book distribution at the same time promoting the jab. It's not black and white, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
this becomes determined by a person's adhikar.
Right.
They can only discriminate to the level of their advancement or their understanding. Beyond that, they don't have the adhikar to do so. So, everybody in this sense is demonstrating their adhikar, or let's say their understanding of how to apply the philosophy. And I think this whole COVID drama is an amazing demonstration of our philosophy, because we get to see everything from the demons who are trying to control and own the entire world down to, an individual devotee's adhikar for understanding how to follow the philosophy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been great in some ways. It propelled us to associate.
Very revealing.
Yeah, very revealing.
Piper, did you want to say anything more? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You just said.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. It's
Okay.
very revealing. It's lifting the veil.
but when I speak to people who are taking the vaccines and following, they say that it's false propaganda and it's lies, that the vaccine does not contain human, pig,
The
green
temple president
monkey.
here. in Honolulu.
Yeah, Kusha, the temple president here,
Yep.
said that her friend is a nurse and her friend told her that it's not true. None of those things are in the vaccine.
There was no
All you have to do is pull out the insert on one of the vials and it's there.
Right.
Actually, the inserts
I mean,
are all
I've-
blank. Piper,
Huh?
didn't you
Well, in the
know?
COVID vaccine, but other vaccines before that did have the ingredients on the inserts.
Yeah.
For the MMR, rubella, all those different vaccines, the hepatitis vaccines. It's
And-
just this
Also-
recent one that they don't have, they have it blank. They don't want to
Really?
reveal what's in these things. They don't want to reveal the secret ingredient for 75 years. The FDA wanted to have 75 years before they actually revealed anything. I don't think they're going to get away with that though.
One time on Facebook, one of my posts was, a woman calls the pharmacist and says, "Excuse me, I've got these ingredients here: graphene oxide, formaldehyde, aluminum, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just wondering, like, what do you think of them as a pharmacist?" And he said, "Oh, well, they sound quite toxic to me." And she said, "Well, what do you think if I inject my kids with them?" And the pharmacist goes like, "Well, I'd have to call, that's child abuse. You can't do that." She said, "Well, that's what you should need to read the insert, which they probably don't provide you with." And then she hung up. I put that on Facebook. They banned me for an entire month just for that little story.
Yeah, and talking to a very, very senior devotee, I don't want to name her, but very, very senior devotee. And her answer, she's married to someone who is like firm believer of the new science. And so when I expressed, some of the points like this, she said, "Oh, we believe in true science. What you're talking is, all speculative."
Conspiracy theories.
I have a question about this very, very senior. Aren't we all very, very senior by now?
Well, I mean, she was a Prabhupada way back there, one of the first ones to go to India with him.
Well, I know Chandi, who inherited $60 million from Doris. Was it Doris too? She told me that she owns the, what do you call it? The lab that created the Pfizer one, and that it's very good. And the main person in the lab tested it on himself for years, and he's dying of cancer, but
well, that's one of the things that
but anyway, she says it does not have embryo in it. It doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. I don't know why I don't know what to say. The people are denying that it has these things, so I don't know what that means.
That's only Pfizer. There's Moderna also, and there's the J&J and et cetera.
Well, I'm told that Pfizer does have that.
It does.
I mean, from other sources.
Even if they don't, you wouldn't want to take it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's an experimental deal. We haven't seen
It's not safe and it's not effective, right?
Right. But I'm
We've seen
just
that
going.
in action. Her sister took everything.
Yeah, and
First,
my
second,
brother-in-law's a
booster and all that.
naturopathic
He's a
doctor.
naturopathic
They
doctor.
took all
it
the
too.
And he
they
took
took
it too.
everything and the boosters, and they both got COVID, and they both went to the hospital.
You don't get
After-
COVID. I think you get poisoned. I mean, you're getting poisoned by the ingredients in the vials.
Yeah. But all I'm,
the-
Sangi, all I'm trying to point out is that these people that are taking it, when I confront them that you're taking dead babies and monkeys and pigs and all these things that are breaking the principles, they say, "No, we're not." So, I don't know where to go from there. I'm not a researcher. Also, my first job and only normal job ever before I was a devotee was working for a poll company. So all the information they get is done on a survey poll where you take a few people, and I know how inaccurate they are because I did that as a job. So I don't have any faith in their statistics anyway, but of course, I don't know, ignorance is no excuse in material law. So if people are breaking the principles due to ignorance, I don't know what their karma would be.
That's
And if
between
they're
them and
devotees-
Krishna. Anyway, I didn't want to turn this into a whole job, although I initiated it, but I just brought that out there. I mean, devotees may not appreciate if we say, "Excuse me, Prabhu, if you took the job, you broke the regulated principles." But it's just, it's something to think about. Anyway, we've covered that verse. I do have Srila Sridhar Maharaj's commentary ready after this, but it's already 9:00 here for me.
Oh,
Anything else from you, Dineshwar Prabhu, that you'd like to recap to finish with? You're good? Okay. And thank you very much, Chris Piper, for joining in. Rasangi, we didn't hear from you. Did you have a comment you wanted to make before we end the evening, Rasangi? No more questions from you, Pradyumna, Sikarani? If everyone good?
Okay, I just got back in my car, was going in and out, and yeah, I don't appreciate the talk about the vaccine. It wastes time. Why are we talking about the philosophy? Come on, folks. It does, you know what I mean? It is what it is. It was what it was. Let's just focus on how to get out of this place.
Right. I second that.
Really.
I like
Yeah.
the idea that let's focus on a love of Godhead. I mean, we have the gardener, Lord Chaitanya, who is the moving tree, and he's
Wow.
giving fruits. And the more we engage in giving those fruits out, the more ecstatic we'll be. And there'll be more and more and more for everybody. Rather than just, this dry thing, this. Yeah, we're trying to get liberation is our first, like Prabhupada said, the house is on fire. We don't ask him why and who started it. We
It's
just
just
get
like-
out.
In the Shri Upanishad, it says that one who knows both ignorance and knowledge side by side.
It's nations. It's nations.
Ganesh Prabhu.
There's a little difference between
Ganesh
nations and ignorance.
Dineshwar Prabhu.
Yeah, I had a question about Yama and Niyama when we were reading the book.
Yama
I thought
and
it was
Niyama?
backwards. Yama is do and Niyama is don't, right? But it was
Yeah.
the other, or am I wrong?
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I
It's
think
the other
you're
way
right.
around, isn't it?
No, Yama in this case, Yama means the activities to avoid, and it's the way it's worded. You're
Right.
correct. Niyama means don't do. So the niyama is referring to do these things. It's just a different way of putting the words, but I understood.
Yeah,
That
I thought it
Yama-
was,
Yama
thought it was
meant do
backwards.
these rules. Yama meant do these rules, and the other one
Right.
is don't do the rules, do the positive. So it's correct. Niyama means ni is without. So it's without restrictions on the niyama, and the yama is restrictions in this case. But I had another question. I noticed that are there 6 urges? How many?
That's the verse 1.
There, okay, 6
Six.
urges. And then there's 6 exchanges between devotees.
We covered over the previous weeks the 6 activities which are detrimental to devotional service.
Okay, and
Patyahara,
the third-
Prayascha, Prajalpaniyam. Now it's the 6 positive.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, so far everything's 6. I don't remember, does it continue with 6?
Well, no,
the
then
fourth-
it becomes after this it becomes it becomes actually the 6 loving exchanges, except
Yeah.
the Dati Pratigranati Gunyama Kyati Prichati. Yes, offering
Is
prasadam,
there-
prasadam, giving gifts, offering gifts.
Is there some significance in 6 in this book?
Oh, the 6 enemies too. Last 3.
Does anyone know, did
I don't know.
Prabhupada or anyone say any reference to the use of 6 in this book?
No, not that I've read.
Hmm.
So it's Krishna book again on Monday. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. I really am grateful for all of your association. And we'll
Same
see you.
here.
Have a ecstatic weekend in Krishna service. And we'll see you on Monday, Krishna willing.